Jesster Radio Podcast.
Welcome to Jesster Radio. I'm an animal. I'm an animal.
Bro, the best intro I've definitely ever gotten. Thank you so much, Morgan. What's happening, bro?
Absolutely. Yeah, Jesse, good to be here, man.
Bro, thank you for coming out and, as people just heard, a beatboxer and something that is very interesting in today's age and something that is very... It's not common. It's not common at all, at least what I've seen in South Africa. And, you know, it's awesome to have you on. So, beatboxing, what is that about?
Wow, yeah. So like you said, beatboxing is very niche. It's very rare. You don't really come across a beatboxer often. A lot of guys say to me like, "Oh my word, I've seen it on TV, I've seen it on the internet," but to see it live, like to see your mouth making the sounds, like obviously you see my veins and you know, people put the physicality with the audio, and it just becomes so much more amazing. Because watching a video, no one really knows like if it's real or not, and yeah, so it being a niche market, I think that's why I've succeeded so much, is that there's not much competition. There hasn't been much competition beatboxing. But what is beatboxing? The technical term is vocal percussion, because literally you're doing percussion with your mouth, right?
Yeah.
So it's making music using nothing but your lips, your tongue, your various parts of your tongue, various parts of your lips too. And then a lot of vocal, you know, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No digital or any technology. It's just the mouth.
And I mean, you must be able to do, you know, can you do like instruments?
Yeah, so when I started beatboxing, my goal was to sound as real as possible. Because I used to trick teachers in school, beatboxing, and then they would think like a cell phone's ringing. And for me, that was the coolest thing. I was like, I tricked the teacher.
Yeah.
I never really beatboxed to try be cool, like, oh, that guy is beatbox cool. I did it for my own entertainment. Like I would, you know, like I would make like I'm opening up a door. So I'd be like, you know, and then people are like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, I tricked you. You thought it was a door. I kind of felt like that guy from Police Academy.
Yeah.
Michael Winslow, doing all the sound effects. But beatboxing became a job when I saw that people were getting very entertained by it, you know. And then I would take the sounds that I've learned and put it into a performance. But like I said, when I started, I wanted to sound real. And what I did was I used to go to music stores. My whole year of matric, I would go to music stores, sit on a drum kit, hit the kick drum, kick it. Okay, cool. This is how it sounds. Okay, let me do a looser one. Tight, sub bass, you know, and then I'd move on to the snare, okay, tight, loose, rim shot, that's tight, loose, all the way through the hi-hats to the toms, and that made me sound real, you know, like when people hear me, they don't actually believe that it's coming from a human mouth.
I'm sure a lot of people listening to the audio now might think the exact same thing.
Yeah, which is good that you've got video.
Yeah.
And I've actually done things where clients would be like, listen, we're doing this radio ad and we want you to beatbox, but it just sounds too real that we want you to sound a bit worse. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So when I started, I just wanted to sound real, and now I sound so real that it actually sometimes becomes a problem.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And you obviously, you say you went to the store and you used to play on the drums and you used to hear those noises. So,
Yeah.
you know, much like a parrot, you know, you have to hear it and then you practice it. Do you, like, let's say you go and the sound of the door opening, do you practice, or do you open the door, or do you listen to the audio of something? Because obviously most doors don't creak like that.
No.
But you listen to that audio and then practice it for yourself.
Sound effects I normally just make up. I mean, we all know how a door sounds. You know, I would do like radios, the sound of a needle hitting the vinyl. that kind of stuff, alarm clocks.
But you have to have an ear for it. You definitely have to have an ear for it, because I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think with sound effects, you don't necessarily have to have the musical ear. I think it's just about imitation. But when we talk about beatboxing, you definitely need a musical ear.
Yeah.
You need to understand how music works. You got to understand that there's a beat, there's a hi-hat, there's a snare, there's a, music is very objective. You could make a song that doesn't sound good to me, but it sounds good to you, and I can't say that song doesn't sound good. It's good for you. So, like being a beatboxer, you need to understand when you beatboxing a track. So we talked about sound effects, and now we're talking about beatboxing, like beatbox a track. You need to understand how music works. Sound effects, it's more about imitation.
So you say there's not really competition for you. Is that only in South Africa, or is that almost everywhere around the world? Because is it just something that's not a saturated market in South Africa?
When I started beatboxing, there was another beatboxer, George, and he was killing it. I actually looked up to him. And then there was another beatboxer, a British guy, his name's Cyber. And these two guys I looked up to. And
George was South African?
Both were South African.
Oh, okay.
But the British guy is from the UK, but he's living in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah. And I looked up to these guys, but it was weird because as I started coming up, they started going down and out of the industry. So as I started becoming good, they just stopped doing shows, kind of. So the market was kind of just left for me for at least 3-4 years. And only recently, 2 years ago, because I've been beatboxing for 12 years now. Only 2 years ago.
How old are you?
28 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started in Matric in 2011. But like I say, recently, the past 2 years, there's just been mad South African beatboxers coming up in South Africa, popping. There's always been competition worldwide, but I haven't been performing internationally up until about 4 or 5 years ago. There's a guy now that lives in South Africa, 16-year-old. His name is Remix. His real name is Jesster. He's 16 years old, and he's ranked 16th in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you?
You see, so this is a big conversation because there's two different types of beatboxers now. There's the beatboxer that battles, and then there's the beatboxer that performs.
Okay.
I'm a performing artist, so a beatboxer that battles will grab the mic, no talking, and just go. For 2 minutes, and with no talking and no crowd interaction, nothing, just basically looking at the floor and beatboxing, and then you would have 2 minutes, and then the crowd and the judges would decide who wins. I get onto stage and I go, "Hey guys, how's it? My name is Morgan. I'm a professional beatboxer, which means that I'm unemployed and I beatbox." Haha, the crowd laughs. Then I go, "Hey, check out my drum kit. You kick here, it goes.
Okay.
You hit here, it goes."
So there's stagemanship to it.
I've already kept your attention for longer than when I was doing the drum and bass.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's because I'm talking, I'm interacting. And so I'm not a battling beatboxer. I have battled before, I've won battles, I've lost battles. But I don't believe there's any beatboxer worldwide that can do what I can do on a stage in front of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Because it's something that people will be like, "Yo, that's incredible," for 30 seconds, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But when you're engaging with the audience, when you pulling them in, and there's showmanship to it, more than just making amazing noises for 2 minutes.
100%. I mean, showmanship. It's creating a show.
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head. Like, battling beatboxers will only have your attention for 2-3 minutes because a battling beatboxer is trying to impress you within 2 seconds. Because he needs to impress you the entire 2 minutes. That's how he's going to win the round. My show, I'm starting off almost I'm almost kind of starting with the stupid stuff, the basic stuff, like making as if the crowd knows nothing about music or beatboxing, and then building it up to a peak where my show would peak, which is around about 15 to 18 minutes into my show, and then I would have an outro at about 20 minutes.
Sure.
And this show has been manufactured, it's been designed to entertain.
Yeah.
And it's been performed I think I've performed this show over 1,000 times, to be honest.
Yeah. In
my 12 years of beatboxing.
Well, we're going to discuss an amazing opportunity that you were given, and then unfortunately it didn't happen.
The amazing opportunity is the 2 gigs in LA. that I had at the begining of May. I say had because Corona came. And obviously that got cancelled. And it was a huge opportunity because the headline act that would have been there that night was either going to be Bruno Mars or Pink. They were still waiting on confirmation.
Were you opening for them or?
I was running the show.
Okay. So like the MC type of guy.
I was the MC.
Okay.
I was the MC, and I would have had to have beatboxed here and there to keep the crowd engaged and happy. And then I would introduce Bruno Mars or Pink, and introduce any other acts of speakers.
Yeah.
And it was at a club called Omnia.
Okay.
Guys that know these big clubs all around the world will know Omnia is like one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Jeez.
And it obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
I was sour about it at first, but you know what? We're all fighting a battle. Since lockdown started, there's people that are way off than me, way worse off than me. So obviously people way better off than me. But we're all fighting a battle, and I'm not going to sit here and complain about lockdown. I'm just making do with what I have. The gig will come around again. This is all happening for a reason.
Yeah, and also, I mean, lockdown has actually made everyone reassess what's actually important and, reevaluate what, is a priority to some of us and what isn't. And
100%.
obviously, performing like that is actually a priority, and, because it's your passion and it's what you love. I see you wearing a hybrid shirt. I've seen also you sponsored and you do some posts for, the mics and everything. And I'm sure that's something that, I'm quite new. This is only my 29th podcast, so I'm quite new to the whole audio interface and everything like that. And I'm sure have you always had a passion for it? Or?
Yeah, I've always had a big passion for anything that has to do with my beatboxing. So anything microphone, anything sound card, looping, effect synthesizer type vibe. The hybrid shirt I'm wearing is because I'm pushing a product. So because of lockdown, everything's gone online.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting here doing podcasts, it's online.
Yeah.
There's guys that are doing live streaming. There's guys that are producers have obviously now taken to producing because now we've all got this time. You wake up in the morning. You don't have to go. You're stuck at home.
Yeah.
So this is it's a podcasting mic. It's a live streaming mic. It's insane. This mic is insane. The mic I'm talking about is the hybrid LSM1, and it got released this week. And I'm just super, super impressed with the quality of this mic. Guys that are listening, check out my Instagram and check out the latest 2 videos. It's on this mic, and that's where hybrid comes into play. Yeah, hybrid is a family business of mine.
Okay.
So it goes without saying that they're sponsoring me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I push them because it's family. It's our brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warming up for these type of shows and warming up for just beatboxing in general.
Mm-hmm.
Before we started, you were doing some, your beatboxing. So how, before a show, let's say, how long would you warm up? Would you warm up throughout the day? How does it work?
So before a show, there's quite a lot of warm ups that I do. Simple. Everyone would probably know the just like vibrating your tongue, I guess. You can do the same with your lips. Now you'll hear I'm going from a low tone then to a high tone. It's just to stretch the vocal cords. What I'm doing there is also stretching the lips. The tongue is stretching the tongue. Almost your entire face is muscles.
Yeah.
They say it takes 42 muscles to smile or something like
and
that.
more muscles to frown. Yeah, I don't know how many, but it's definitely more. Yeah.
It's definitely there's muscles.
Yes, 100%.
And I mean, you should definitely know that muscles grow. Muscles get strong. Muscles
they develop.
They get weak. If you don't use them.
Yeah.
So I found that the more I beatbox, the stronger my sounds get. There are some sounds. Let's now take our focus away from the face, the muscle part of things. Your vocal cords are not a muscle, you know what I mean? They're not a muscle, but you can train them to get looser and tighter and reach different tones and stuff. So the sounds that I use my vocal cords for also need warming up. And that's simply just doing the sound. So my chest bass, so you can hear it's cutting a bit. I don't want it to cut. Okay. So I would just keep doing that until it's a solid vibration. If I go a little bit higher, I forgot the name of, that boxing bag you got in your mouth?
Yeah.
So I could vibrate a piece of flesh just behind that to go. Now, interestingly enough, this sound doesn't sound good in the morning. as I wake up, I can't actually do that sound. That sound's called vibration bass. As the day goes on, that sound becomes easier to do. And now we're sitting here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can hear now how it sounds.
Yeah.
So it's sounding nice. There's another sound, a spit snare. Now we go back to the face, the facial muscles. The spit snare is basically fill your mouth with air, and if you had to push your cheeks while tightening your lips, that's the sound that I'm looking for. But now you obviously don't push your cheeks, and you go, and you got to try to do it. So when you start, it'll probably sound like, you just want to like shorten it. Now that sound in the morning also, I can't do it. And I think it's got to do with my lip muscles not being warmed up at all.
Okay.
And as the day goes by, we're talking, I'm beatboxing in the car, I'm beatboxing while I'm walking around. And now at this time of the day, and I could even, in one, I could stop it and start it again, and then you get a double. You see?
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. So that's basically the explanation behind having your muscles warm, your vocal cords warm, and I guess it's a lot of mind work too, because my show involves comedy and crowd interaction and whatever the case may be. I'm always on my phone looking at notes, new jokes that I've written.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a pharmaceutical company. Do I have any jokes on medicine? Yes, I do have a joke on medicine. My brother told me to write my show on a tablet, but there's only so many words you can put on a panado.
Yes.
Like that's a fire medicine joke, you know.
Yes.
So it's a lot of mental preparation too.
You are very passionate about it, and everyone can hear that. Did you have like a mentor starting out? Did you just watch videos? How did you, see that? Obviously, you saw that you had this talent, and then how did it go from there?
Yeah. Look, the first beatboxer I ever saw live was this guy, Cyber. I got to meet him in person, and he beatboxed for me live. And I think that day, everything changed for me. Everything
How
changed
old
for
were
me.
you then?
That was in 2010. So I would
Grade 11.
I would have been 17, turning 18.
Okay.
I heard this guy, his name's Cyber, and I was like, oh my God, like I want to do that. I want to be that. And I started off, at that time I was rapping in school. I was a rapper. Okay. And there was a guy at school that would beatbox, and then we would rap over the beat, right?
Yes.
And then I came to school and I was like, guys, check this out. And at that time I was doing a tongue snare. You use your tongue to make like a little snare. It's such an old school sound. And I was like, guys, check this out. And they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you're the new beatboxer. You're not going to rap anymore. And then that was when I was going to the music stores and making my sounds just sound better. I remember going to school once and I did Billie Jean. I did that. And I remember beatboxing that and looking up and seeing about 30 pupils around me, students.
Yeah.
And a teacher was like breaking through the crowd.
Thinking there's a fight or something. Yeah.
And there's me in the middle with guys filming. Back in those days, not many people had camera phones, but there was one or two.
It's like a Samsung E250 or something.
Yeah. And the teacher's just like breaking it up. What's going on? Yeah, break up the crowd. And then at that point, I realized this was when I was like, it's not only my fun hobby. Now, like, this is a form of entertainment for people.
Yeah.
And then it was after that day that I started going to open mic nights. So, I mean, I was 17, turning 18, going to pubs in and around the East Rand, in and around Joburg, and just asking guys, like, hey, can I please beatbox in your open mic night? And they'll be like, yeah. And two of those venues, it was Cool Runnings was the one, and another place called Knight and Dragon, actually said to me, listen, can you come perform for us on a normal night and we'll pay you?
Okay.
We're talking like 150 Rand,
Yeah.
250. But if you're in matric or grade 11 and you're getting 250 Rand a week, that's a lot of money, you know? So
pays for your drinks on the weekend.
Yeah, man. Look, I wasn't much of a drinker back then, but it pays for your lunch at school.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
Or
I remember like 4 days worth of lunch.
100%.
Yeah.
I remember I took beatboxing money and I bought sneakers, my first pair of sneakers.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was for that kind of stuff. And that's what got me my, like how a pilot gets flying hours? That's what got me my stage hours, is spending half of grade 11, the second half, and the whole of grade 12, performing at open mic nights and then clubs. And man, the ball just rolled and the momentum just amplified, and it got to a stage where I was writing my matric final exams but performing the night before. I remember clearly opening for DJ Fresh at Manhattan's on a Wednesday night, a student night, and the next morning I had my geography final exam, which I got 80-something% for.
Oh, well done.
So I mean, yeah, geography is not that hard. So yeah, that was my life. And coming out of matric, there was no option of gap year, get a job, or study. I had shows booked.
Yeah.
I had corporate shows already booking me. One of my first clients was Savannah, the alcoholic drink. Flew me down to Cape Town for a show. I'm like just out of matric, flying to Cape Town to do a corporate show. The ball has just been rolling ever since then. Like it's hard to believe, but I've been busy since matric.
So most people that think, beatboxing can't make money, I saw you rolled up in an A3, I think it was.
Yeah.
So what do you do in terms of, getting money, and how do you, obviously, those gigs and performance and corporate events? Is corporate events your main thing that you do?
Definitely. And it's purely, I'm not going to say I don't chase the money. We all chase the money.
Yeah.
There's a lot more money in corporates.
Okay.
I performed a lot of years in the clubs, which exposed me to alcoholism, driving drunk, late nights, not really being productive because you're waking up the next morning. You did a great show last night. You spend half your pay at the bar.
Yeah.
You're waking up with a headache now.
Your voice is wrecked.
Yeah, you cool. The girls love you. But I just wasn't finding much growth, And so I started manufacturing this show where it was less, because in a club I would be going and then just going, yo, you guys doing good? Yeah. Okay, cool. You guys like drum and bass? Yeah, let's go. I slowed it down and I went like, let me break down beatboxing, but it would never work in a club, because I can even say myself, and you can admit too, that if you're in a club and having a good time and a guy gets on the mic and wants your attention, man, you're talking to a honey or you're talking to your friends about something cool that happened. You don't want to listen to this guy. You just want good music, So I found that the clubbing wasn't for me. Also, the pay was very low. Clubs got a lot of politics. I was getting mixed up with the wrong kind of DJs, and so I took a step back and I manufactured more of a stand-up show and started performing at comedy clubs. And man, comedy clubs is what gets you into corporates, because the corporates love comedians.
Yeah.
Now I'm this guy there that can do comedy, but I can also beatbox. The corporates they literally just almost snatched me out of
like a comedian one-man band type of
basically
thing.
Yeah. And so now not now, but in normal times I would make my money off of corporates. A client would pay me. I would have to go through for a rehearsal the day before. I would then on the day have to go for a sound check, and then obviously go to the show. And I'm going to the show in a full black and white suit. You think hip hop, you think like
casual
hip hop, hoodie, I'm beatboxing in a suit with like a fresh fade, nice haircut, shaved, like looking good. It's like, it's a weird, it doesn't match. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a show that really throws people off, Another way that I started making money was then hosting my own comedy shows. So not even performing, standing at the door, welcoming people in and telling comedians when to perform and for how long. So other side of the gun, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And those were my two avenues of income, was just doing that. Crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And you have had overseas gigs, and some of them got cancelled.
Yeah.
And what happened to that Jordan situation?
Yes, Jordan was a crazy gig. It was a mad gig. So and there's a knock-on effect here, which is pretty cool. I did a show in LA. I flew myself to LA, and I knew a couple of the comedy clubs there and whatnot. And there was a big expo going on, and I performed at this expo. At this expo, a Chinese guy saw me and wanted me to perform at another expo, a similar expo, but now in China. It was like 2 months later. So I was like, no problem, And this was actually my first international paid for gig. They paid for my flights, accommodation, and paid me.
Cool.
So that was my first international gig. Went to China, did the gig, where an American saw me. And this American organizes gigs for the American army.
Okay.
And he said to me, I want you to come perform in Jordan in 2 months' time. So you see how it knocked on.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to mention that, because I flew myself to LA.
You invested in yourself.
I invested in myself, And now look how it paid off. So back to the Jordan gig, like I'm like, what's the gig about? No, it's at an American airbase. This American airbase is called Al Azraq. Okay, so get to Jordan, get picked up. You know, not much details when it comes to army, and you know, you just get picked up from the airport. Oh, we're going here, and then we're going to the airbase. You got to sign in here, and then you got to do this, that, and the next, like procedures. But you don't really know what's going on. They do. Get to the airbase, and I start seeing troops, and the troops are running around and they're training, and it's like I'm in a movie, man. Like I was in an army base, you know, tents, everything, and talking to some of the guys. And this was in, I think it was like May. It was in like May, and the guy had said to me like, he had said to me like, on New Year's, they threw very dangerous firecrackers at us. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, on New Year's, like 11 minutes into New Year's.
Was this an American army
This
guy?
was an American troop.
Okay.
That told me that a few months ago, they had been bombed, attacked, rockets, I don't know the exact terms, but a few months ago, this exact airbase that I was at got attacked. Okay.
And was he being facetious when he said firecrackers?
Yeah, he was being he was saying.
So it wasn't like, you know, New Year's Eve type party.
It was dangerous firecrackers,
okay.
not the normal ones. And I felt really special to be in a place that had been attacked a few months ago, and now I'm there performing. And not special in a way that I feel special. It's like, look where my beatboxing has taken me. Like I'm just.
You saw the value of your work.
100%. From like maybe a stupid little hobby in matric, seeing that British guy, and now I'm all the way in Jordan. I mean, after that gig, man, I spent a day in Jordan. I was in the Dead Sea. I went and saw the ancient Colosseums and Cathedral, I think it's called. So even just being in the Dead Sea, like floating in the Dead Sea, I'm like, look where my beatboxing has taken me.
Yeah.
Like normally guys have to open up a business and make millions, and then they go to Las Vegas or whatever, and they're like, worked 10 years of my life, made all this money, and now look where I'm at. Like for me, it's like I'm making sounds with my mouth. It doesn't. You know when people say to me like, how do you beatbox? I'm like, how do you not?
Yeah.
How can't you?
It's it's like an extension, literally. It's like your body that just it does what it does.
It feels so normal to me. You know?
Yeah.
And I even get amazed at what I'm doing and where it's getting me. You know?
Yeah. Would you have to? Can you sing? Because obviously you can control your vocal cords and everything.
Yeah. I can sing. I can sing. I can do a note. Okay?
Yeah. But so you started off rapping, so you must have, you can hold a note.
I can hold a note. It's. I find the difficulty with singing is the accent.
Okay.
You know, the way you say a word.
But your pitch and everything you can control, and it's relatively easy for you.
I guess. I mean, I do that. Beatbox enthusiasts will know Razal. I mean, you probably know Razal.
Yeah.
If your mother only knew.
Yes.
So like this is what I do when I perform. I'd go, if your mother only know. So that's my type of singing.
Yes.
All right, and we got to do the beat with it. If your mother only know.
Crazy.
And
that's so cool.
And that's my the extent at which I can sing. I'm not like.
Okay. So you've never tried to go into it, or?
Beatboxing makes me feel secure when I'm on stage because it always works. So if I'm doing comedy and my jokes are just starting to not really work, I'll go into beatboxing.
Okay.
And I just feel like when I'm singing, I'm making myself very vulnerable to let something go wrong, because my voice could just at any point, and then it's like, whoa, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
Whereas with my beatboxing, if I make a mistake, you won't really know. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
You'll just think it's part of the beat.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't sing because it's not something it's not a field I feel comfortable in. Like I feel like I'm a professional beatboxer. What makes you professional is if you've done over 10,000 hours. I think I've done over 10,000 hours. Singing, not even a few hours.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable in what I know.